It's time once again for our winter giveaway. This giveaway is very simple to enter. Be a patron. So the easiest way to enter is go to patreon.com/comicsfunprofit. Become a patron at any level at our Patreon site, and you can do it that way. You can also enter by going to Threadless and buying some merch and tagging us in a photo of you in said merch. So if you like one of our t-shirts or hats or whatever, and you go to comicsfunprofit.threadless.com and find all our merch and like some of it, buy it, wear it. You can either tag us in social with you wearing it, or send us a photo of you wearing it, and you're entered. So those are the two ways: be a patron and buy merch, and then you get entered in our winter giveaway, which is fun swag giveaways of photos and stickers and signed comics, just like our fall giveaway was. And we had 5 lucky winners win stuff in our fall giveaway. So we're hoping to have as many entrants this time that we can give away that many again. So be a patron, buy merch, enter the winter giveaway. Check out beacons.ai/comicsfunprofit for all the C4FAP links you could ever need, all in one place. You can provide feedback, listen, support, share, enjoy these. We have our Patreon there. You can buy us a beer or a coffee. You can check out our Instagrams, our Twitters, our Facebooks. Check out our YouTube page. You can email us. You can listen to our podcasts on Patreon, if you're a subscriber, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, on Podbean. We have Google Podcasts on there. We have an Amazon wish list. You want to buy Kyle and I something? Fine. You can do that here. We appreciate it. We have Kyle's RPG podcast listed on there, so you can check out his Dork Day Afternoon offerings. We have Cowabunga links, so you can check out the Cowabunga Deep Discount FOC and pre-order list. Get on that. That's RLCS, so you can check that out as well. And we want to just give you opportunities to say hi, to check out what we're doing, support us if you would like, or just listen. Check out beacons.ai/comicsfunprofit for all the C4FAP links you could ever need. Thanks. Back to the show.
Aloha! It's Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. In this episode, I will be interviewing comic book creators Matt Bors and Ben Clarkson. They are here to promote the trade paperback Justice Warriors from Ahoy Comics. Now, this was a 6-part miniseries that came out in 2022 and has been collected into a trade and is now on the 3rd printing. Matt and Ben, welcome to the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. How are you guys doing today?
Excellent. Thanks for having us.
We're doing great. Aloha.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. Thank you very much. Listeners, I'm just going to go over some of Matt and Ben's past works. And Matt and Ben, please feel free to either correct me or add anything you want listeners to, check out. Or so. Now, Matt is an Eisner-winning comics editor. He is a 2-time Pulitzer Prize finalist in cartooning, and in 2013 he founded The Nib. It is a political satirical journalism and nonfiction on what's going down in the world. Matt, I checked out the website. I've seen some of the comic strips. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Now, Ben is a cartoonist, artist, and animator. He has been nominated for a Juno for his illustration on record covers. He has designed posters for some of the largest tour bands in North America. Some of his illustrations have appeared in some of the best magazines and newspapers around the world. Some of his art has been shown in Mexico, The Hague, and New York. Matt and Ben, is there anything else you guys want to add, or is there anything you guys want to correct?
I think you got the gist of it.
No, you've shared our bona fides.
Okay. All right. Now, before I get into the interview, I just want to give a big shout out to Hannah Bahedri of Superfan Promotion for setting up this interview. Hannah, thank you very much, and thank you for providing me an advanced reading copy. And Hannah, again, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. Matt and Ben, do you guys want to add anything to that?
Big shout out to Hannah.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I also got some of my information from the WM Q&A podcast, episode 216. Justice will prevacate with Matt Bors and Ben Clarkson. Now, that was dated on June 27th of 2022. That was a very good episode. That was a very good interview. So, listeners, if you guys get a chance to check out that interview. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
Oh, I just said that was a fun one. Yeah.
We were reminiscing on it.
All right. Ben and Matt, where can listeners follow you on social media?
Oh, I mean, I'm pretty easy. I'm just my name, Matt Bors, on most social media.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find me on X, the Everything app, x.com, the Everything app, at Ben Clarkson.
Okay. Now before we start talking about Justice Warriors, Matt and Ben, how did you guys meet?
It was the summer of 2020, and things were wild all over the world.
Yes.
And I started just harassing Matt on formerly called Twitter, and just sending him crazy DMs with drawings of fish I had made. And eventually he started to respond.
Yeah, Ben had a pitch really for Justice Warriors ready to go. I mean, he invented the world and the main characters and everything, and wanted my help in getting it made. And I loved the world instantly. We vibed on a lot of our politics and our influences and everything like that. And once we got together, we started coming up with all those ideas for this world, and it just it led to this book.
All right. Now that's a perfect segue. We're gonna jump right in. Now, Screen Rant has there's a quote on the trade paperback, quote, "It's Justice Warriors, filled with action, humor, and a biting commentary." Matt, I'm going to start off with you first. Ben, jump right in. For listeners, what is Justice Warriors about?
Ben.
Justice Warriors is about a city. It is about a beautiful, shining city in the future, encased inside a crystal dome called Bubble City. And this city is perfect. There's no crime. There's no discrimination. There's no social problems inside this bubble. The only problem is the vast mega slum filled with toxic waste and pollution. And this slum spreads to the horizon. And that slum is called the Uninhabited Zone. And the Uninhabited Zone is densely populated by a mutant population, and they have to be kept in check by the Bubble City Police Department. And so the story follows two members of the Bubble City Police. And they have to face off against their greatest threat yet.
Let's see. I'm gonna is there anything else you guys want to add to that, or?
Well, Ben covered it, but it's about a lot of things.
It's
about we can talk about it. It's about a lot of things, really. It's about economics, social media, police, everything.
Yeah, it's a satire. So we play stuff big, and you start recognizing parts of our world and how insane the actual world we live in is, by how crazy we make this Bubble City situation.
and I have to say it's pretty funny. Actually, I love the Uninhabited Zone. I love it. It's just great.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to live there?
Yeah,
It's just a densely packed, never-ending slum filled with mutants. And to be honest, I mean, of course, the living conditions are awful, and that's the point of the story. But I mean, that's where the culture and excitement are in this world. You don't want to live in Bubble City with all of these one percenters.
yeah, yes. Um, I'm gonna ask like Matt, I'm gonna start off with you. Who are your because we already talked about we already mentioned two main characters, but like who are your main characters? I know you have Swamp Cop, and I'm gonna say and I'm I'm gonna say I know this is gonna sound very weird, but hopefully I'm pronouncing the name correctly because the spelling is different. Officer Schitt? Schitt?
Yeah.
Officer
Officer
Schitt.
Schitt.
Now it's spelled
No.
Schitt because it's from the German, and
Uh-huh.
he took his wife's last name. She's not a shit mutant.
Mhm.
But yes, it's a very weird look. It's a very weird book that has shit mutants and swamp mutants,
Yes.
and has great action and lowbrow humor, and then also has hopefully smart things going on with the politics in it. It's a wild world. I think we had to contend with all the other types of dystopian cities that have been done in comics. You got Transmetropolitan and
Mhm.
Alan Moore's Top 10 and
Mhm.
Mega City 1, and we wanted Bubble City and the Uninhabited Zone to be even crazier than all these. No question about it. We wanted to be leading the pack.
Um, the I I've I've r- I've read the well I read the trade, and I love it because it's like when you first for me when I first start reading the first couple of pages, it looks like it's one of these serious comic it looks like it's one of those serious things where I believe the one of the Swamp Cop's partner Roger, right?
Mm.
Yeah,
Is that
Rogers.
Yeah, Raj, he's a serious, almost like the Punisher type, like, Nick Fury, and
Yeah.
we have to take down the Starfish Gang, and and then he's like, Swamp Cop, where are you? Oh, they're going down, and he's like, the Swamp Cop's like by the food vending truck. Oh, I thought they said 10 o'clock. It's only 9:47. I'm trying to get some breakfast. Do we have to go now? And the taco truck guy goes, hey, I'll call you when your taco's ready. I, but then
Yes.
Yeah. We play it straight at the beginning. And we play it it's the Justice Warriors jumps from playing it straight to
Yes.
being very zany very quickly. And by going back and forth, I think we have like a sort of a winning it's a winning vibe to jump back and forth between these two modes.
Yeah, so this won't spoil too much for readers because it's in the opening 8 pages.
Yes.
Rogers is Swamp's partner, and then he is killed during this bust on starfish mutants that are getting a baby formula. He's run over horrifically by a self-driving bus.
Yes.
And one of the, like you mentioned, what kind of character Rogers is. I mean, he is kind of like Nick Fury, Judge Dredd, Snake Plissken. He's this archetypal tough guy.
Yes.
And we off him in the beginning because
we just rip him
we're
to
going
shreds.
we're going in a different direction. And then the setup is that Swamp, who is depicted as fairly incompetent in the beginning, he is now the veteran who is taking on a new partner in the form of Schitt, who's basically an idiot.
Yes. Oh my God. Um, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just like because
He's speechless.
yes.
Because Warriors will do that to readers,
Yes.
It floors them like the self-driving bus.
But like I said, I love those first few pages because it already sets up the tone of the series. It's really great. Um, Ben, I'm going to ask you this because you mentioned it during the WM Q&A podcast. Um, how did you come up with the name Bubble City? Because I remember you mentioned that you laughed at yourself 2 in the morning while you're in bed trying to work while you were working on the story. But how did you come up? And what were the other names for the city that you're thinking of?
It was Dome City for
Okay,
so long. And I just called it Dome City because I've been
yeah,
working on this, like the IP, I guess, the idea of Justice Warriors for like 10 years. And
okay.
so things have just like sort of winked into existence over time. And then I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, I'm keeping that. I'm keeping that. And so it was Dome City for 6 years until one day I'm in bed and I'm like, what about Bubble City? And then all of the jokes of like economic bubbles,
Yes.
all of that came off of that change, and it was instantly super funny. And so I just started laughing to myself like a crazy person. And yeah, it stuck, and Matt really vibed with it.
Hmm. Matt, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, no, not exactly. I mean, I loved it. I love the world. It's in line with a lot of my influences and stuff that I do and want to do in comics. I mean, like I'm drawn to sort of dystopian sci-fi, mutants, cyborgs. I was doing that a lot in my editorial cartoons the last few
Hmm.
years. And I'd been really wanting to do longer form comics and
Hmm.
fiction, which had been an interest and goal of mine, since childhood. But then I kind
Hmm.
of found a niche in political cartooning and did that for 18 years.
Hmm.
So Justice Warriors was a real fulfillment of like, oh, this is the type of comic that I really want to make already. So that's why
Yes.
me and Ben got along.
Oh, that's great. I'm gonna jump to I may jump around back a little bit, but
Go
um
around.
yeah. Um so Ben, because like you said, you've been working on this story for 10 years. What were some of the influences of the story? Because already, Matt, I know you talk about dystopian futures, Ben, I know you mentioned about I think Matt, you mentioned about like, how Roger, is like kind of like a Snake Plissken. It's like, oh my God, that's right. He's like Snake
Mm-hmm.
with the eye patch and everything. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, it's the story came after the world. So I had this idea for a world, and then
Mm-hmm.
Matt and I agreed, oh, let's work on this thing. And we sort of sat down and be like, how do you even introduce the real part of writing is figuring out how do you introduce this crazy idea for a world to the reader in a way that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he and I actually started working.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to, over the summer of 2020, we were looking at the world and like, what are we responding to?
Yes.
And the story of this insane social media gang, the Libra gang,
Yes.
taking over huge parts of the Uz and threatening the bubble,
Mm-hmm.
starts to emerge. And so they're stealing cybernetics from all over the city. What are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
What is this mystery? What are they building?
Mm-hmm.
And then with a final showdown at the end of the book where everything is revealed.
And I would say the main vehicle then for doing that story, if it isn't already obvious though, is the buddy cop drama, right? There's a
Yes.
lot of different influences in Justice Warriors, aesthetically and
Mm-hmm.
politically and all this other stuff. But we're playing with a lot of different tropes. But I think the main one is the central story is a buddy cop story. It's
Yeah,
bad.
it's like a sci-fi action movie.
Yeah, it's like bad boys, took acid and watched Akira.
Um, Now Swamp Cop, um, Officer Ship. Um, how did you guys come up with these character designs?
That's all Ben. But before Ben talks, I'm gonna say though, he came up with most of them before we worked together, but then we came up with this character Ratzinger, who's kind of like a sort of like a deep state figure, and he kind of comes out and advises the prince mayor, and he's a big rat, humanoid rat, cybernetic leg, a little, you can see his exposed brain on top. And Ben came up with that design, and it's amazing. I love all of Ben's designs, but I think maybe it's just because I had a role in creating the character, not the visual design though. But I think I love Ratzinger the most visually.
Actually, before we can start talking about the characters, let's talk about Ratzinger, because he plays a very interesting role. And also too, you guys did a little bit of research, right? Because what he presented to the Mirror, about the Mirror had this record album. The Mirror's going, my record's not selling. What do we do?
Yeah. And
so,
then there's an economic scheme to try to juice the record sales. And Matt and I are both very politically involved men. Or politically interested men. And so the book is a satire. So the book takes real world stuff that happens, real occurrences, like how police actually operate, how their relationship to violence, how does the economy work? So we wanted to make fun of how the economy actually works. And so there is a big scheme in the book, which when presented to the reader sounds insane. Sounds like a crazy thing to do. Yeah. But it's actually us just describing like the actual United States central bank policy of like an overnight exchange window. You can borrow money from the government at negative rates overnight if you're rich enough. That's how the thing works. And so we make fun of that mechanism in the book. And it seems crazy. People are crazy.
Yeah. You know, I when we were writing this, one of the I guess the plot engine in the first half of the book is there's an economic boom and bust in sort of every issue, and it creates a new problem. Then they have the prince kind of comes up with a wacky solution, and then the problem sort of creates a new kind of crime. So in issue 2, there's the bread bubble, and people are investing in bread not as a food anymore, but as a a commodity that's almost like a I don't want to say NFTs because they're actually real, but it's similar to NFTs. Also, well, I was reading about the tulip mania. You may know about this old school the tulip mania. There was a tulip mania in I'm gonna forget the year. Maybe I could look it up. But
it's tulips, like late Dutch Renaissance.
Yeah, early to mid 1600s. The Dutch tulip bulb market. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the tulip bulb market, but at one point in time, it was popping. And it basically became the value of a tulip, which were heavily desired, became different than it became a commodity of like a collectible. Like, I have a tulip.
Yeah.
And people like tulips, but people like them so much that I can buy tulips today because they're $4 and sell them next week for $6 when prices spike. And it created this insane tulip mania where people were investing in it.
People were buying tulips that hadn't bloomed yet. They were buying like futures of tulips.
Yeah. And so it's this kind of microcosm of like economic insanity, and is sort of a famous like mini bubble. So we were incorporating all those kind of things into converging them with stimulus and NFTs and all this other stuff.
Oh, okay. And then, Ben, I wanted to mention, because when you're talking about, the financing part of the United States and stuff, because you mentioned that you guys read up a little bit on something called quantitative easing that you guys kind of used in the book, because this is a real thing.
Yeah, they print money and they give it to the rich. That's how the system works. They print money, they give it to the rich. The rich buy everything. And then regular people don't have anything.
Yes. And then the regular people are like going, oh my God, if prices are going up, I want in on this.
They'll just price fix the entire economy overnight. Yeah. Like how many, isn't there like an egg cooperative or something? Or like the egg industry, the dairy industry is like big lawsuit right now because it has been proven that they conspired to raise prices for no reason. giant price fixing stuff.
No, that's
and that's what we satirize in the book. This stuff happens. This is
Yes.
the world you live in. You live in Bubble City, and that's the joke of the book.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's just that's crazy. But like but this is real. Yeah. I wanted to ask about, because Matt, you mentioned about in issue 2, you guys talk about, how all of a sudden bread becomes like the hot commodity, and how people are like buying it without, it's like, no, don't eat it.
Yeah.
We need this slice of bread. I'm just asking, was there a deeper meaning for you guys to use the term bread in that issue? And the only reason I'm asking is because I remember it was like a slang for money back in the 70s. And if you watch,
Yeah, I mean, I was born in '83, but I would still, under certain circumstances, use bread to
let me hold
describe
some
money.
bread.
I don't recall exactly how it came about, but I think there was a connection. And also, I think the fact that, bread goes stale fairly quickly. So like it was an absurd thing that was even it was even better than tulips to me, because like with tulips, people liked them aesthetically, but like bread, you just buy to eat. It doesn't really have a purpose beyond that. If it gets stale, you can make some croutons.
Yeah.
And that's about the extent of bread's usefulness. So we wanted to take something that only has a real singular value, which is as a food product, and instead turn it into an investment vehicle that, of course, makes no sense, because the hype about it, right? About, we have a guy, the Bread King. He's kind of like an investment influencer, and he's talking about, brioche and rolls and all these different kinds of bread, and they're going up at different values. If you get a bowl of brioche, hold, don't sell, and certainly don't eat. But then, of course, that's unsustainable, because people need bread to eat and need money to buy food, so it didn't work out.
But I have to say that was pretty good, how you guys use that in that issue. That was pretty cool how you use bread. It's like, no, don't use, but like you said, it's a short shelf life, and it's only for one purpose, to eat.
Yeah. I'll say we had actually very considerable debate about whether or not to do the bread investment thing in issue 2, because we start out with the Prince's own record scheme in issue 1.
Yeah.
And after introducing the whole world and all these characters for the first time, and the concern was like, is this too crazy? Are we doing too much too fast? We should just maybe stick with maybe a new feature, a new thing to revive the record scheme thing, keep that going as the main engine. But I think it succeeded in showing, we wanted to show how crazy this world is, that every week, every day, there's a new craze happening. It's like, which is similar to our world.
Yes.
I think it is. So it's our world, but cranked up.
Ben, do you want to add anything to that?
Matt and I are doing a bit of writing right now, and what I would say is it's the wrong decision from a story's perspective, but I think it's right for comics. Like from book to book, from chapter to chapter in the trade, it's very funny.
Yeah.
Lots of different things happening. Each issue is sort of a set piece in itself, so it made sense.
And Matt, going back to like how you say, each issue you guys come up with different set pieces, and it's just a reflection of what's going on in the world, and what it is that I know Ben, I know you mentioned that you want to make this comic like an evergreen comic, not to feel dated, because if someone reads this 10 years from now, they're going to go, oh my God, this is a reflection on our times at that point. Because the thing I have to mention is that I love was it chapter 2 or chapter, I may have gotten the chapters mixed up. It was either issue 2 or issue 3, called Awareness Month, where I love I think where the cops come out. It's like, here, we're here to disperse the crowd or something. oh, and yes, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I mean,
Police departments do this. They're
Yeah.
like Matt found promotional material of them holding up like pink handcuffs.
yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
if you think about what a handcuff is, you're being detained, you're being
Yeah.
kidnapped. You don't necessarily want breast cancer awareness to be associated with your kidnapping.
Well, they have,
So
yeah.
we just brought it like one step further. We just
Yeah.
turned it up one notch.
And we have and then, we go back to those kind of jokes. Like later, we have a mental health awareness gun. And these are not,
yeah, I know.
I mean, and it's funny and it's meant to be funny, but it's not too, you can go buy, it's not just cops. You can go buy a pink Glock for breast, and then the proceeds go to breast cancer awareness, because breast cancer is, a very widely experienced cancer. A lot of people have it. So there's a lot of personal experience with it. And then as a result, there's sort of a industry around the awareness of it, where at some point you've raised awareness. We're all aware, right? And then at some point, like the biggest one is like the Susan G. Komen Foundation. I think I'm saying that right. They've come under criticism for kind of like, okay, well, you raise millions and millions of dollars, and then it's sort of a machine to raise more millions and millions of dollars, and you have races and you have pink Glocks. Maybe they don't have pink Glocks, but, and then at some point it's kind of it becomes self-parody, right? It's like, well, go get screened and all that, but I don't think we need to be arrested with pink handcuffs.
Yeah. Well, unless the pink handcuffs are sold in those lingeries,
great Christmas
adult,
gift.
then that's something different. But and that's what I love about this. The little touches of that. It's because Ben, like you said, that it's that police departments, even other companies and stuff, they're doing these little things. It's like, yes, we have to, we want to show our support for this, but if you're, I don't know, like for example, how much of it does it make sense? Is it, because
very little.
Yeah,
very little.
It
makes very little sense.
At least that's the thesis of Justice Warriors, is that whether we're talking about awareness raising, cops, economic schemes, social media, very little of it makes sense.
Matt, I'm going to start off with you because you already mentioned it already, that in issue 1 there was a baby formula shortage. Now, when this issue was released, there was an actual baby formula shortage.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you first, and then Matt, please chime in. What were your guys' reaction when the comic reflected on real world events?
Well, it was interesting that happened. I mean, we certainly weren't expecting a real life baby formula shortage, but I mean, really the comic is not proposing that there's a shortage necessarily. It's just that the gang is stealing it. And if you've ever had to buy baby formula, which Ben and I were using baby formula for our infants that we both had around the same time, so in 2020. And once you're in the world of baby formula, you're like, holy shit, this stuff is insanely expensive. It's locked behind a glass at the supermarket because they don't want like poor mothers to feed their babies without forking over $65. And you realize, wow, this is crazy. So it was written into the comic because we were both actually dealing with baby formula at the time, and it was it's kind of crazy making. And the politics of Justice Warriors is such that we wanted there to be a kind of a twist on why this, like the classic like cyberpunk gang is like doing what they're doing, right? What are they trying to get? They're trying to hack the system and get a special key or something. It's like, no, they're trying to get baby formula for children.
Yeah, I feel like we're just trying to be a bit more honest about where crime comes from a little bit and make a joke at the same time.
Yeah. And then if Justice Warriors has any predictive power and things that we cartoon about come true, then there's going to be a lot of problems. Because we do plan on doing more of this, and I gotta say, if any of these stories come true, it's going to be bad news for us.
Let me get back to the character designs because I still want to talk about Swamp Cop and Officer Schitt. Like, how did you guys come up with that design? Because it's just they're just funny designs and I love it.
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea where they came from. Swamp Cop just got drawn one day.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, I was like, his partner should be Poop. And that was literally the extent of my like thinking about what the character designs were. They just seemed right. I just drew them one day, and a Poop being cop, cop being Poop, Poop being cop is very funny. And it's a big choice for a character design. Like it's not a human guy with blonde hair.
Yes.
It's a big swing. And I think that that's part of the appeal of Justice Warriors is that aesthetically, like visually, it's insane. It's all over the place. Anything can be a character. Just these massive crowd scenes of just strange mutants. Someone's a toilet. There's cartoon characters from the 90s hidden throughout. Like it really is a celebration of character design too. And how crazy a character can be while still understanding them and their world. It making him Poop was a way of telling you what this thing was, which is kooky, it's insane, and a bit honest.
Matt and Ben, I want to just off the cuff comment. The thing I love about Swamp Cop and Officer Schitt is even though they look really weird, they're relatable, they're lovable characters that that you like. Yeah, I see Ben's going, oh, okay, no, I'm being serious because they seem to work perfectly together,
That's great to hear. I mean, that's what we're going for.
Yeah.
We are doing a book that's like, they're police, and we show them like not being good police, planting weapons, doing what we euphemistically call police-involved shootings, meaning police shoot you and kill
taking
you.
Taking drugs on work hours.
But it's not. So it's not about these are great characters that we hold up as heroes or people you should emulate, but also it would be boring and I don't think very interesting if we just said, well, these are villains and they're bad and they're one-dimensional because cops are bad. We have to make an engaging story around them. So like, Schitt is, funny and I think likable in a lot of ways. And Swamp is a very damaged person, but many of us are as well. So maybe there's relatable things inside the characters.
I want to talk about. I finally I realize one of the things I love about Officer Schitt and what you guys didn't do too much was do a lot of puns. Like, oh my God, Schitt's gonna hit the fan. I mean
that's absolutely not allowed. We cannot ever. That is very disrespectful to him to make comments like that. He would be offended, I think, if people spoke like that around him.
I think if Swamp said Schitt's gonna hit the fan out in the field, that Schitt would report him to Bubble City HR. As some kind of microaggression. Although I think it would kind of actually, because Schitt is, as we we show in the book, very pliable as a
Yes.
as a being, let's say,
There's visual shit jokes.
So we could do, I mean, it's what you just said is tempting, right? To have shit hit the fan. But I would almost think it would be better if shit hit the fan, but then no one said shit hit the fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, but and Ben, like you said, I love it's more the visual jokes because if because we all had our sayings like, shit's gonna hit the fan, oh shit, or it's too easy. We all know it, and if we read it, we're just gonna go, oh yeah, I saw that coming, but.
And that's what I like about Shit as a character. Why he because you see him and you think that's what we're gonna do.
Yes.
You think, oh, it's just gonna be poop jokes and shit jokes, but then he is the joke.
Yes.
He is the poop joke,
mm-hmm.
And so you don't need to do another one.
Yeah.
Like you got one going every single panel.
But also, I'm probably reaching on this. I think what I also like about Officer Shit is for us as the reader, this is what we're expecting of Shit, but it's not. It's almost like judging him kind of like maybe judging him for, okay, this is what's going to happen, but no, it's not. So I hope I don't know if that made sense, but it's almost like being judgmental. Okay, this is what's going to happen. Oh no, that's not what's happening. Yes, because then the jokes are a little different. It's funnier. So yeah,
Matt made it really funny. It's a very funny book.
All right, I'm gonna continue on. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask was the Starfish Gang.
Yeah.
I love the Starfish Gang because I think they appeared in issue 1, I think page 2. So did you guys pull references from The Dark Knight Returns, Starro, the Conquering Starfish? One of the women, the woman that's part of the Starfish Gang, she kind of looked like the private investigator from Dakota North. Was that all intentional?
Matt, did you know about Starro before you did the Starfish?
I know about Starro, but it wasn't really intended to be a riff on that. I guess there's major similarities because Starro is like a kind of parasitic thing that locks onto your face. I mean, to take one of your questions, The Dark Knight Returns villain. I mean, that is, Ben drew that in. There's just a lot of references like that throughout the book to different kind of comics. The idea is, so we allude to something called Starfish City and the Starfish Gang, and that's a little bit of world building that, maybe we'll get to in future volumes, which is to suggest the possibility of other cities in this world. And then the starfish they're really just starfish, whether their whole deal has not been established, but they can walk. One of them walks away, and so they just sort of latch on to people or mutants, and then they can act through them. I guess that is a Starro thing, but it wasn't really. It really wasn't done with any kind of intent around that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that was a subconscious reference, I guess. And then there's a lot of references throughout the book. People who 90s cartoon characters. Any 90s cartoon character will appear at some point.
Well, thinking about it, I can give you a better answer. I don't know that it came from Starro, but what it came from was I wanted the mutants to actually be blameless for the crimes they committed, right? So then, he rips off the starfish from one of the guys, and he's like reading him his rights, and the guy doesn't even have any idea where he is or what he did.
Yes.
And it's again, the Justice Warriors thing is to crank up the differences in our society and everything. So it's like, people want justice and they want people to be held accountable. And sometimes there isn't anyone to hold accountable, or, throwing someone in prison for for a long time for a crime they committed, even if they did it consciously, is not going to improve anyone's lives or rectify anything. So it's like, things like that, what I just said, are sort of underneath the surface of what's fun, action, and jokes. And, so we don't have to say all that stuff, because it's then, you could just go read an essay on incarceration or something, right? And get that information. But we're trying to do it in like a fun comic.
And those are flying off the shelves, those essays. Flying off the shelves.
Exactly. I think
I'm going to slowly start wrapping things up. I just want to ask, how did you guys come up with the title Justice Warriors?
It was a different title for a long time. And that's not an interesting part of the story. Not Justice Warriors is, there's that famous phrase, social justice warriors.
Yes.
So what happens if you add a bit of anti-socialness to social justice warriors? You get justice warriors.
Yeah.
So it's a play on the ideas of justice, our hysterical internet time of the social justice warrior. While, justice warriors, is that a good descriptor of cops? Sure. It works.
Proponents and defenders of cops see themselves as, justice warriors. They are the ones who are licensed to use violence in our society and can arrest us. And it's obviously an ironic title, and it has some other applications, like, the movement, the Libra gang that Ben described, that rises up against the bubble and the police in it, view themselves as justice warriors. Yes. They're an armed group whose politics are a little muffled. Well, they're muddled rather, but they're zodiac based. They're a zodiac based. They're basically system. Like if Libras became an armed Maoist group, and instead of wanting to impose communism, they wanted to impose Libras being in charge of everything, and vibes based but violent. So that's where that to me is how the title plays into the whole thing.
Okay. Ben, I'm going to start off with you. And then Matt, please comment. How did you guys team up with Ahoy Comics?
Matt had a good connection. Matt,
we just got introduced to Tom Peyer, and they really liked Justice Warriors, and we were shopping it around to like a lot of the indie, creator owned friendly publishers at the time, and we got a couple offers, and Ahoy's was the best offer, I think, maybe, but also the best fit. They just they seem to want to allow us to do what we wanted to do. We have back matter in every issue.
Yes.
There was some concerns at other places about, the length of the series, or maybe the craziness of it. And Ahoy was really on board with that, and they've been a great partner, particularly Tom Peyer and everybody there, Hart, the publisher. And
Tom and Hart have treated us amazingly well, and we're so happy to be with them.
That's nice. Ben, I'm going to start off with you, and then Matt join in. Please give shout outs to the other members of the creative team.
Shout them out.
Shout out for my dog, Felipe. You do the best work. Hardcore.
Yeah, he's our colorist. He's great.
Yes.
We're a small team. It's me and Ben, and then Felipe does the colors. There's a whole broader Ahoy team of people. There's Stuart Moore, and there's Hannah, like you mentioned, who does PR with David, and a bunch of people. They're a great company.
Beautiful little family.
Yes. But I'm glad you guys gave Felipe a shout out, your colorist, because the colors are amazing on this. It's really good, especially in the final battle at the. I'm not going to spoil the end, but the final showdown is. I love it because it reminds me of Lawnmower Man.
Oh yeah. That was intentional.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I'm glad you picked up on that.
Yeah, oh, it was great. It was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Matt, I'm going to go back off the cuff because I know you said that you have back matter that was in every issue. It's also in the trade as well, but you also had like one page comic stories that was related to the war to the basically kind of like related into the world of the Justice Warriors. That was nice.
Yeah, thanks. It's really fun to do that stuff. I mean, some of them sort of pertain to the story and some of them don't. They're just like little strips about random stuff in Justice Warriors. It's just a format I've worked in a lot, doing political cartoons. I love strips, and I just wanted to contribute, something extra. There's so much we can do with Justice Warriors. We feel like we could tell stories in this universe for forever. So that's part of like the strips are just sort of getting at that idea of like we want to just create as many stories and strips in this world as possible.
And then Ben, I'm going to ask, were you the one, or is it Matt, was it you that also you guys did the crime files of whoever was like the moose that was arrested in the first issue with the starfish and
Yes, well, I'll correct.
Matt
that's an elk. That's an elk, sir.
Oh, an elk. I'm sorry.
Mike.
I live in Hawaii. We won't.
That was Mike Elk, actually. Yeah, I mean, again, it's just I love back matter. It added a little fun thing to the story. And we got two. I'm a cartoonist too, and Ben is the artist on the book, the main artist, and I just sort of wanted to contribute as much as possible to some back matter and some other stuff, just to give readers a bang for their buck. This is a value proposition.
The book is a really good value, to be honest, and that's something we're really proud of. There's a lot of additional stuff in it. Matt has an entire story in the back that he drew. Blue Lives Matter.
Yes,
that's it. Great book. Great story he's added. It's a high quality paper product as well. It feels good in your hand.
Now, Ben, I'm going to start off with this question. Matt, jump in. So, because Ben, we talked about this a little bit before we started the interview, because you told me an interesting story. Now, as I mentioned that, the series, the monthly series came out in 2022. In February of 2023 was the first printing of Justice Warriors in trade paperback. I'm going to ask you, you want to talk about how Justice Warriors became popular?
I don't know how it became popular. Okay. I'm thrilled that it is popular.
Okay.
It's a little nuts, the response that we've had to it. People have really globbed onto it, because when it came out in floppies, just went nowhere. Nobody cared. Nobody knew what the hell this thing was. Didn't do super well. We're a new series. We're starting out. It's a small publisher, but
reviewed quite well. I want to say.
Very well. Yes.
But yeah, reviewers wasn't breaking any sales numbers.
But since we got collected and went out and trade paperback, Matt and I have very passionately tried to just keep telling people about it, which is the only thing an artist can ever really do to promote their own work, is be proud of the work you've done. And we're very proud of the book, and people have responded really well to it. We've gone through 2 printings already, which is insane. It's beyond my wildest dreams for the book. And now there's pallets and new copies available for you, dear guest.
And listeners, as Ben has mentioned, there's pallets of new copies. So now this interview is going to go up after Christmas. So if you guys have that Christmas money, go out, buy trade paperbacks of Justice Warriors. So
I would even buy 2 and hold on to them, because much like bread or tulips, these things are going to be valuable beyond their cover price very shortly. You know,
Oh yeah, the
they're
demand is
investment
high.
vehicles in and of themselves. These are these are like mortgage-backed securities here.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
12% APM.
These are Justice Warriors backed securities. You can buy a bond backed by the palette of the third printing.
Okay. All right. You guys kind of hinted. You guys are hoping, but will we see more of Swamp Cop and Schitt?
As long as people keep buying the book, we'll keep making it.
Okay.
I don't know if we're saying anything about more of the stuff, but we're definitely talking to each other about it all the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the intent is to do a volume a year for at
Mhm.
least a decade. We legitimately have solid ideas for what we would do. You know, it's a creator-owned series, so it's dependent on sales and how viable that is. So we don't have anything, you know, to officially announce, but we're
Mhm.
probably going to be doing more.
Okay. All right. Because you want to hit the goal of that omnibus, right? Because I
Oh,
think
hell yeah.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, if
I want a boxed omnibus.
Okay.
yeah, hardcover slipcase, absolute Justice Warriors edition. But Ben, what was you came up with
Introductory Justice Warriors.
yeah, we want the omnibus to be a giant, maybe it's like 2 hardcover volumes called the Introductory Justice Warriors.
All right. Now, I know you guys spoke about hopes of animation series, but the real money is made in merchandising. Will we see Justice Warrior action figures or shit toilet bowl toilet line?
We're gonna see lunch boxes.
Yes.
We're gonna see weed whackers. We're gonna see automotive supplies. We're gonna see umbrellas.
We are eventually going to hire a pop artist to actually produce the Prince's music, the album that he releases in this volume. Yeah, but seriously though, we do want to get an animated movie or series made, and I think, you know, I'd love toys or some other stuff, but you could.
We think it would be a good game, a really good video game, like a Grand Theft Auto, where you're driving around, you can design your own mutant, solve crimes in quotation marks.
Yeah, it would be excellent. I think to get to all that stuff, we need the movie or a, you know, incredibly successful comic, but that could lead to the movie. But I think the movie or a streaming show is high on our agenda. You know, that is actually how Ben originally envisioned it, because he's an animator. So we think it works as both. We want to write and draw. You know, we want a 26 season show and 20 volume comic book run, and we'll be happy.
I want to be bought out by a conglomerate.
Yeah, we want to have Eastman and Laird problems.
Yeah.
10 years from now, Ahoy Comics will be bought out by Disney, Fox / Sony, you know. And then they're going to look at, hey, wait a minute, what is Justice Warriors? Yeah, you know.
What if we fire those guys and stop making that? That's what they'll probably say.
Maybe we can subcontract it.
Yeah.
All right, 2 more questions. Matt, I'm going to start off with you. Have you and your family been to Hawaii?
No, I haven't. I'd love to sometime though, but no, I haven't. And you know, I'd come and I wouldn't even build a gigantic underground bunker like Mark Zuckerberg is doing.
Yes, yeah,
I would just simply visit and leave
simply
the places
visit on the land.
Yeah, on the surface, above ground, and, you know, leave as I found it. You know, leave the places I found.
Ben, what about you?
Some members of my extended family have a timeshare, but and my sister-in-law has been. She speaks very highly of it. I would love to go above ground, just like Matt.
Ben, I'm going to start off with you, and Matt, you can finish up. Any closing words to our listeners?
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah. Just, buy Justice Warriors if it sounds interesting. And, thank you.
So, Matt, Ben, just thank you very much for your time. Mahalo.
Oh, yeah.
That's thank you in Hawaii. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to interview the both of you. Thank you very much. I wish you guys continued success with the Justice Warriors trade. I hope you guys get greenlit for another Justice Warriors series. I want to see a word literally, like you keep saying, you guys talked about in the previous podcasts, that how zany it is, but yet there's so many layers to it that I love it. It's great. It
Yes.
is.
That's what we're going for. So it's
You
good to
know.
hear. It's good to hear people say that.
Mhm.
I try to hold back and not blurt out all the things that we have planned and all the ideas, because they're better if you read them in comic than just hear me blurt them
Yes.
out on the podcast. But me and Ben if you like this first one, me and Ben are going to deliver on a couple more for sure.
Ben, do you want to add anything to that?
No.
All right. Thank you very much, Ben. I also want to thank Hannah Superfan Promotions for setting up this interview and for the advanced reading copy. Now, if you are a new comic book reader that loves biting satire, or a lifelong comic book reader, actually, who loves, this dystopian satire, please check out Justice Warriors. What I love about this story is that to me, it makes like, and this is to me, it makes like a generalized commentary about our society. Um, you know, because it's one of those where it's like, I feel like maybe in about 10 years from now, when people read this, they're going to go, oh my God, this is reflecting on what's going on during that time period. I love Ben's artwork, the details in
Yes.
it, the tongue person in the riot scene. Oh yes.
Everybody's got a favorite mutant in the riot scene.
Yeah. Um, and the crazy action sequence that's over the top, and it's awesome. It's amazing. It is, and I love it. It's just great. The important thing I love about this trade, from Ahoy Comics, is that it's made with love and passion, a love for storytelling, and a love for comics, and also too, the two main characters, even though they're not the they're not the they're not the brightest, but they're likable characters that I can relate to. That's the
Well,
main thing.
they're not the best that humanity has to offer, but who amongst us are?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're not sending their best.
Now, Ben and Matt, I am being serious when I say this. So, listeners, if you have a friend who loves comics, you know, please pick up I'm being serious. Please pick up the Justice Warrior trade. Give it as an after Christmas gift or a birthday present, just to try something a little different, to expand, the comic book reading horizons. Like I said,
Absolutely.
I love this. I want to thank Drew, the host of Comics for Fun and Profit, for putting this episode together. Drew, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. And if you are a new listener, please check out new episodes of Comics for Fun and Profit that comes out every Saturday. And I want to thank you, the listeners. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to this episode. Until next time, guys. Aloha.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Our LCS is Cowabunga Comics, Lake Country, Wisconsin's best pop culture destination for new comics, back issues, gaming, retro video games, vinyl, and figures. Give them a call, 262-569-9999. Check them out online at cowabungacomics.com, or follow them on Twitter at Incredicow. They are our LCS, and we utilize their deep discount mail order service to bring Oconomowoc, Wisconsin closer to us. They'll take care of you. Tell them Drew and Kyle sent you. Say hi to Eric and James from us. If you need an LCS, you can't go wrong with Cowabunga Comics.